So, I went in expecting some answers to Prometheus here, and while I got some, I left with more, and I have to ask, how many questions will we need answered by the time Ridley Scott's Alien prequels catch up to Alien? Alien Covenant is the sequel to the pretty divided Prometheus and prequel to the beloved Alien, directed again by Ridley Scott and stars Catherine Waterston as Daniels, Michael Fassbender reprising his role as David from Prometheus, as well as a new character, Walter, as well as Danny McBride as Tennessee, among an ensemble of actors playing couples aboard the ship Covenant, hoping to colonize a new world for a new life. They receive a distress call from another world and go to investigate, arriving at the home of the engineers and the current location of David. Now, both Alien, directed by Ridley Scott, and Aliens, directed by James Cameron, are two of my all-time favorite films. They are as close to perfect as you could get. Both films completely turn the sci-fi genre on their head, both landmark films in the genre. First Alien is one of the best science fiction films, as well as one of the best horror films ever created, and Aliens is one of the best action and science fiction films ever created. So they gave us one of the most iconic movie monsters ever created in the Xenomorph. And the films following those landmark films haven't really lived up to Alien or Aliens. Some of those films do have their fans, like Alien 3, but for the most part they've never really caught to the height of Alien or Aliens. Now, this film doesn't quite reach those heights, but it's probably the third best Alien film in the franchise, but that still doesn't mean this isn't a divisive film. The film is certainly a step above from Prometheus. We get a lot more elements here from Alien, and that's been very reflected in the marketing. Fox have been championing the return of horror to the Alien franchise as a step away from Prometheus due to how that film was received and the response to that film. So you get more xenomorphs, you get more elements of the Alien franchise as both Ridley Scott and 20th Century Fox sort of step away from that Prometheus mythos. Both Catherine Waterston and Danny McBride are great in this film. I think people are going to be really surprised with how Danny McBride is in this film, considering he's typically known for his comedic roles, and definitely adds much needed comedy to a pretty dire film for the most part, but he actually brings a lot of dramatic weight as well. So it's really great seeing Danny McBride, and I think this is going to be the right step for a new direction in Danny McBride's career. So there's going to be a lot of Danny McBride fans coming out of this film. Now, this definitely feels a lot more like the Alien 5 that Ridley Scott and James Cameron wanted to do before Fox went ahead with Alien vs. Predator. A lot of those elements from that story definitely went into Prometheus, but Prometheus obviously was more focused on the engineers, where this time we sort of take a step back from the engineers and we're more focused on the xenomorphs. And the film is very gory, very violent. It's probably one of the more violent Alien films that have been made to date, where body parts are torn away, there are grotesque bursting moments. You definitely get those moments that the trailers have been selling you. There's a lot of attention here that's been brought to the mythos of the alien, and kind of reshaping and rewriting the mythos of the xenomorph as we've known them from the previous films. So we definitely get to learn a lot more about their origin in this film and what they are and their purpose in this universe. And the xenomorphs are great. It's great to see them back on the big screen. CGI is used to create the xenomorphs in this film, while there are a couple of moments where there are some practical uses with the xenomorph, but for the most part, the xenomorphs are all CGI in this film. For the most part, the CGI in the xenomorphs is pretty damn good, but there are times it can falter a little bit. But ultimately, I think what happens with the mythos of the xenomorph in this film is what's going to really divide fans, whether they love it or hate it. And there's going to be a lot of discussion over the years about how this film rewrites some of the mythos about the xenomorph. The film is a blend of Prometheus and Alien. The Prometheus elements do kind of drag the film a little bit and does muddy things, and it's without question that Fox has made the decision to remove a lot of the Prometheus elements from the marketing. Not all elements from Prometheus are carried over, and while I'm not a huge fan of Prometheus, I know a lot of people are fans of Prometheus, and I have a feeling a lot of them are going to be a bit disappointed with how elements from that film are sort of carried over into Alien Covenant, and they might not feel as satisfied as other fans or other viewers are when watching Alien Covenant. So, as there are some elements from Prometheus that I actually do really like, but unfortunately the film doesn't answer all the questions that Prometheus raised, and ends up just raising more questions for future films. The film has a bit of a slow slow burn. It's more like a drama actually in the first act. A bit of a Alien 3 vibe to it if you ask me, but definitely a lot more polished and well put together than Alien 3, but it does take a little bit of a while to sort of kick into gear a bit. The second act is a bit long, I felt. It does take a bit of a while, and that's sort of where a lot of the Prometheus elements come into it, so it does feel a little bit longer as we get into that meat of the film. But the third act for sure does feel a little bit tacked on. It's just a bit unevenly paced, a bit rushed. So I'm really kind of conflicted about the film. There are some moments that just feel a little bit cheap to me. Just as someone who's watched Prometheus and enjoys some elements from Prometheus and is a massive fan of both Alien and Aliens, there are some things that happen in the film that just come across as a little bit cheap and not quite as fulfilling as I would have liked them to be. The ending is very predictable too. It's way too obvious, and a lot of people in the theater that I was watching the film with kind of groaned a little bit when the ending came up, and I really feel like that ending is going to divide people. You're either going to like it and just go with it, or you're just going to hate it. But ultimately, I really feel like the most divisive thing that this film is going to do is confront fans with the altering of the alien mythos. So there's obviously going to be a lot of discussion following this film as to what the xenomorph is and the background of the xenomorph. So I feel like I fall a bit more into the critical half when it comes to the changes made to the xenomorph, but I could definitely be persuaded when future films are released, as this film is obviously designed to be watched with future films. I know Ridley Scott is planning, I think, 2 or 3 more films following Alien Covenant. So from Prometheus to Alien, there should be about 4 or 5 prequels that lead up to Alien, and they're obviously meant to be all connected and tied together. So when you watch them back to back, they'll start to make sense, and those questions hopefully will get answered. But again, not all the answers from Prometheus were answered in Alien Covenant, so I'm assuming that we're going to get those answers in the next 2 or 3 films. But I do hope we get a little bit more answered next time, because I feel like having more questions added each time is going to maybe annoy some people, because we're not quite at Alien yet still. This is the second prequel film that Ridley Scott has made. We're not quite at Alien yet. I know a lot of people wanted Alien when Prometheus was released, and Prometheus really was super far away from when Alien takes place, and that's what annoyed people. So we did get more Alien elements and design choices that reference the first Alien film, but in terms of the timeline and where things match up, we're not quite at Alien yet. But I'd have to say, if you're a newcomer to the franchise, definitely go and see Prometheus first, because the film definitely carries a lot of story threads that were introduced in Prometheus, so there are going to be elements where if you haven't seen Prometheus, you are going to be lost. But again, for people who do like Prometheus, I really don't think you're going to be as super satisfied with how some things are tied up. And again, you've got the school of dumb movie characters in Alien Covenant, no different from Prometheus. You can definitely tell when some characters are going to die. You know, there'll be a guy who says, "Oh, I'm going to go and take a piss," and you can gather pretty well that this guy's going to cuck it. So you do get the old expendable cast. The dialogue at times is pretty cringeworthy. There are a few lines that got some snickers in the audience, particularly the wheat guy. There's one guy who just walks up to this alien wheat when they first arrive. He looks at it and he says, "This is wheat. Believe me, I know wheat." And and that line just made so many people laugh in the theater. So there are those kind of cringy moments of dialogue that some people are going to be annoyed with, but again, if you were to look at it as a horror film, you'd probably write it off, not think too much about it. But again, this is Alien. Alien is a step above your average horror film. We do expect a little bit better from Alien, but again, my main issue with the film is absolutely mythos changes for the film. I think I'll enjoy them more once the following prequel films have been released. So I will look a bit more optimistically on the changes in that senses. I know we're going to get more films in the future, and I want to see where they go. And I am, again, still a big fan of Alien and Aliens, so I do want to see how this prequel series ties more into those films. So if you're an Alien fan, definitely catch it. You've probably already seen it anyway. You get to see a lot more of the xenomorph. If you're more of an Alien fan wanting to see more connections to Alien in Prometheus, you're going to enjoy this film a lot more. Unfortunately, if you were a fan of Prometheus, this probably isn't going to be your film. Not super satisfying. I definitely recommend checking out the prologue that was released previously onto YouTube, which shows the couples coming together, and you get to know the couples a little bit more. But there is a second prologue that was released that is designed as a direct follow-up to Prometheus, I'd recommend not checking that one out because it does spoil some things that do happen in this film, so avoid it until you do see the film and then come back to it. But I have to give this film props because it is ballsy in its changes to the mythos and its attempts to bring new life and story elements into the Alien franchise. So for me, I'm going with a 7 out of 10 for Alien Covenant. Check the film out, see what you think. Let me know in the comments below. If you like this review, do hit the thumbs up button and leave a comment down below. Let's have those Alien discussions going in the comment section. If you've seen the film, let me know what you thought. Where would you like to see the Alien franchise go from here? Did you like the changes that Alien Covenant made to the mythos? Do let me know below. And don't forget guys, you can hit the subscribe button if you want to follow content more regularly. And also don't forget to follow The Mono Report on Facebook and Twitter at The Mono Report, where you can follow movie news on a daily basis. So definitely check that out. Thank you so much guys, and don't forget to stay right here for your Mono Fix. Bye guys.